those things that many of them are telling us they haven't been able to do and just wouldn't take the risk of doing. The other part of that is we then took another step and made it 10% of that discretionary income forgivable in 20 years, any balance that was remaining. And in some programs, we have loan forgiveness for people that go to teaching in particular areas or other public service jobs where there's a particular need, and that can be forgiven after 10 years. So we did all of these things in the context of wanting to have more affordability and accessibility. We put some more support into community colleges, and in a corresponding part of the Workforce Investment Act, which I've drafted now and has been filed. We do a lot with community colleges there, partnering them up with industry and other vendors to try to make sure that we have this continuing education beyond high school, whether it's for a 4-year degree or 2-year degree or a certificate, of some recognition of a skill or an education level that industry can use to put people to work. And industry can partner with the community colleges and other vendors on establishing what the curriculum is. The workforce investment boards go out and identify through surveys what the industries are in their area, what their needs are, whether or not they're hiring, if they're hiring, what they need in terms of education and skills, and then get a course, a program together to make sure that people have that and transition in. We provide for internships and apprenticeships there so people can get some income while they're doing it, and the company has people getting trained on the process through, and we move forward. So trying to make it a way that people can afford better to get the skills and the education that they need to get an actual job, not being trained and then sitting on the sidelines wondering how they're going to get back to work. So all of these things are in place. We're filing a bill, I think, in the next couple of days, and I know Nick will be supportive of that, to try and extend the Small Business Administration's ability to guarantee loans for small businesses up to a higher level and to waive the fees. We found this to be incredibly effective during the Recovery Act. It's now stopped. We need to reauthorize that. John Kerry has a bill in the Senate. We're going to do the corresponding piece on the side. We need to do everything we can to get people back to work, and that means giving them the skills and the education. It means giving small businesses the ability to get their inventory and their employees up and pay them and not have to lay them off. And this is the avenue where we're going. I know there's a lot of talk down here about, uncertainties of regulation. None of us are crazy about regulation. I was in business for over 20 years. I was the president of the Chamber of Commerce. I know all the arguments about regulation, and they simply amount to this. All of us want a fair playing field. We all want to make sure that there are regulations so our competitors can't cheat and put us at a disadvantage. But we all want fair regulations. We don't want them to be overburdensome. We don't want them to be ridiculous. And we want them to really be meaningful and be fairly applied on that. So that's the nugget. When I go around the 6th district, at least, I talk to my small businesses. I say, is having a cement factory be regulated really the problem, as some of our colleagues on the other side pointed out, or do you have some other real problem right now? And the problem they point out is we have a lack of customers. All right, this is a real demand issue. What they lack is customers. I know we met with a bunch of real estate agents here the other day and brokers, and they were saying that things are picking up a little bit, and that's what we need. But people can't invest in real estate and can't buy a home or move out of their current home and move on unless they have a job, unless that job pays reasonably well, and unless they can go out there and be customers. So even though we've gained back all of the private sector jobs that were lost since 2009, we've lost 590,000 public service jobs. Since many of our colleagues on the Republican side haven't agreed with us that we really needed to continue to help states and local communities at least for another short period of time so that they don't have to lay off teachers and firefighters and police and public service, public works people, and keep the economy moving on that, we've got 590,000 potential customers sitting on the sidelines. And while all of them presumably shouldn't be hired back and couldn't be hired back, a good number of them could be because many classrooms are overburdened for the teachers. Many fire stations have closed down. Many police departments are going short-staffed. So there's a way that the federal government can step up, be helpful to states and local communities, and be helpful to our businesses. And I think that's what we're all trying to do down here in a lot of the debate that's going to happen going forward. So I'll wind down with that. Nick, if people want to ask a question, I don't know how much time you have, or our next speaker what the thing is that.
Want to ask one question?
Yes.
Yeah.
I own a small manufacturing company in Massachusetts, and the two driving forces
promotions. So when the United States worked with us and with our partners in London, and indeed with political partners in Northern Ireland, to bring about an agreement, it was a triumphant moment, it was a moment which we'll never forget. And since 1998, the Good Friday Agreement, and more recently the agreement in 2007, we have shared partnership with the government of Northern Ireland for peace, we have partnership and we have stability. And that's something that we're very, very grateful for, and we're very grateful for the role of the United States and for our mission in particular.
what region you want to go in that position, and is it hard to get a position as an ambassador to another country?
Say, what's the last one?
Is it hard to get, is it hard to
Become.
acquire that
Well,
title?
I've been an ambassador here for the last 5 years, and I've been ambassador, as Nikki said, in Saudi Arabia for 4 years, in the Czech Republic for 2 years. We run an entirely career foreign service, so all our diplomats, whether ambassadors or at any level, we're all career. We don't have political appointments. That's not part of the way in which our government functions. Each government, each country has its own particular way of doing this. The United States one particular way. Ireland runs a service which is entirely career professional. I've been fortunate to make my way through that system and to find my way here ultimately to the United States, which is a big privilege, as I said earlier on. But you find your way in the first instance through competition. It's the only way in. So competition is the nature of access to the public service in general, but certainly access to the foreign service. As a career diplomat or as a junior diplomat, you have to obviously have your undergraduate degrees, and you work your way from there. After that, you need a lot of hard work, I think. You also need a bit of good luck. You obviously need to stay healthy. There was a massive proliferation in golf courses in Ireland during the boom times. But if you're coming for the gathering gym, golf is one of the options that you'd have, and we're to play there. We have some superb golf courses, and we have some superb golfers. And the leading world golfer at the moment is Rory McIlroy from Northern Ireland, and very, very proud of him and his achievements. But we like to believe, for a small country, that in terms of our capacity to play golf, that we punch above our weight. But in terms of an environment in which to play golf, I want to be boastful here, but it's probably second to none.
Mr. Ambassador, two-part question. Has the European Union been good or bad for Ireland? And what impact will recent elections in France and Greece have on the future of the European Union?
Well, the answer to the first question is the European Union has been good for Ireland. Ireland is a committed member of the European Union. Ireland has been a member of the European Union since 1973. We're not new members in any sense. We're long-serving members and committed members. Ireland sees its place in the heart of Europe. Yes, Europe is going through challenges at the moment. Ireland is going through its own challenges within all of that. But Ireland's future is within the European Union. We believe in the European Union. We believe in the euro, and we believe in Europe's future. It is inconceivable that we would have a Europe other than a Europe that has been coming together in the ways that it has over the last 30, 40, 50 years. The alternative really is not thinkable. But of course, Europe is comprised of 27 different countries, and at any one time, a country is having an election. You know, whether it's France last week, or Greece last week as well. France last month, Greece last week. And so you're always going to have, issues to do with national elections, being relevant or not relevant, depending on what's happening at the time. At the moment, of course, it is significant that you have a change of government in France, with a new president, obviously, with a new emphasis on the area of growth, which is also very, very important for us. So, it remains to be seen just how that debate evolves. But there is a new emphasis on growth arising partly also from the efforts of our own government and other governments as well, but given further encouragement by the election of President Hollande in France and his appointment 2 days ago. So, Europe has to work its way out through these challenges. Obviously, Greece, again, is a particular case in point. They not just had one election, but they're now going to have a repeat or second election in the middle of June. We wish them very well as they work their way out, not just through their economic challenges, but obviously now the political complexities in which they find themselves. It's very, very important that they should do so. Europe wishes Greece to find a way of managing its way out through this crisis in terms of the management of their fiscal circumstances and in terms of getting political stability and remaining in the euro. It's really, really important for Greece, obviously, and I think it's very, very important for Ireland and Europe generally. For us, just to make a point in terms of us, we had our own elections last year, in February last year. And the reason I mention that is just to convey a point that we have a government in Ireland which has, as of last year, the biggest mandate of any government in the history of our country. And sometimes people can wonder about politics and get cynical about politics and all that kind of thing. And this is not unique to Ireland, it's not unique to America. But I mean, the need to have a stable government, a stable, strong government that can make decisions, whatever those decisions are. But the capacity to make decisions, particularly at times like this, is vital. And we have a government which has that capacity, has the numbers in our Parliament to do that. So we are on the other end of the election cycle, as it were. Our government is in the first year, has completed the first year of a 5-year term. But the simple point is they have a big majority. So we have political stability, and we wish obviously Greece good fortune and good luck as they work their way through their own politics. Yes.
Mr. Ambassador, just as a follow-up, could you share with us Ireland's perspective on the sovereign debt issue going forward, and how the Union is going to be able to manage that?
Yes, as part of that cascading economic circumstances in which we found ourselves in 2009 and 2010, Ireland was forced out of the bond market, which was very, very traumatic circumstances for us. So we no longer had the capacity to borrow at commercial or competitive rates in the bond market. So we had to engage and work with the so-called Troika, which is the European Commission, the European Central Bank. our expectation and wish to be out of the bailout package just as soon as possible, to be back in the bond market, to be borrowing money commercially in the reasonably near future, and obviously to manage our debt in a responsible way. And we want to present obviously an image of our country which is one that is addressing these issues in a responsible and measured way. Okay.
Great. Well, thank you, Ambassador, very much. Well, thank you very much to the Ambassador for joining us today. And we're fortunate now to have Congressman Ed Markey, Dean of our delegation, here with us. His timing was impeccable and perfect. I'm sure you know him as the national leader on energy and the environment. I am fortunate to serve on the Natural Resources Committee, where he has been on that committee since first arriving in Congress. He is currently the ranking member, where his leadership and knowledge on all the important issues we face are evident at every meeting that we ever have. From 2007 to 2010, at the direction of then Speaker Nancy Pelosi, he was asked to serve and did serve as chairman of the Select Committee on Energy Independence and Global Warming. The Select Committee has held 80 hearings and briefings and contributed to the advancement of smarter energy and climate policies, including the first increase in fuel economy standards in 3 decades, which Congressman Markey authored. Very important. Across the company. So with that, I welcome the Dean of our delegation, our noble leader, Ed Markey.
So, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here for Nikki. And Nikki and I, we obviously are partners. Let's just begin with Hanscom. Okay. So, I have Lexington, Nikki has Concord. And we have to partner on this issue. We have to make sure that we basically explain, which is what Nikki does, that, yeah, if you want to close Fort Devens,